Hey guys, welcome to my spring book haul. I only do these videos once per season, so these are all of the books that I've acquired from January to April of 2021. I bought most of these books myself. Some of them were gifted to me, so I have like 30 books to haul right now, which is just mind-blowing. I do have a ton of contemporary romances to haul, as well as a lot of book of the month books. I've read some of them. Not read most of them. I have some thrillers, some mysteries, like one horror book, and you already know what that book is probably. And then I have a fun little stack of like 4 books that I don't know why I have them. Like they don't fit into the categories of the books that I would typically read. So yeah, stick around until the end of the video if you want to see what those 4 books are, because they all sound really good to me, but they're also all outside of my comfort zone. Let's start off the haul with a bunch of mystery and thriller books, because honestly I feel like that's where a lot of my audience, like that's what you're interested in. So we're gonna go ahead and get these out of the way. I want to start with one of the books that I'm probably the most excited for. I really want to start this maybe even this weekend. It's Finlay Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. I think that this is gonna lean more towards being a mystery, especially since that's what it says on the cover. I have heard such fun things about this book, and I think it's going to be turned into a mystery series, and this just came out recently. This book is about a single mom who's an author, and she's in this coffee shop one day talking about like a pitch for her next book, and someone overhears her and thinks that she is a hit person and wants to like hire her to take a hit out on somebody. And since she is a struggling single mom of 2, she like struggles with the idea of whether or not to like take them up on this. And regardless of like what she decides there, I think that the book is going to be all about her getting tangled up in some messy situations. I think it's going to be really fun and really funny, but also I think it's going to be pretty thrilling. I absolutely love the cover. I think the color of the cover is genius, and it's one of the little short in stature hardback books. One time I was making a video and I said, here are all of my short books, and it like one of the books in there was like Don Quixote or something over 1,000 pages, and I didn't mean short in length, I just meant short in height. Anyway, another short in height book that I have that I absolutely love the cover and the color of the cover is Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. This one is a YA, I'm gonna call it a YA thriller, even though a lot of people who have read this book would feel really comfortable saying this is not actually a thriller. So I'm not really sure what to expect, other than that this story is loosely based on the R. Kelly story that has been breaking for the past however long, like last year when that was going on. The book is about this young girl named Enchanted who really wants to be a singer. She's an aspiring artist, and she gets taken advantage of once she enters into the music industry. It's supposed to be really heartbreaking. I am actually currently reading this book. I've barely started it, but I'm reading it for like 2 different videos right now, so I can already tell that we're broaching some very heavy and serious topics here, but I think it's going to be handled really well, especially for a young adult audience. I think it's going to be a very important story. Super excited to finish it so I can share my full thoughts with you guys. Okay, I don't even know how to explain this one. This is called I'm Still Alive by Kate Alice Marshall. This was an impulse Walmart buy. So this book has 2 different timelines. I think it's going to be half told before and half told after this event of a father's cabin burning down, or this person's cabin burning down. Her name is Jess, and her father died inside of this fiery cabin, and they're in Alaska. But apparently in the present day, this girl has been in some sort of accident and now is like stranded out in Alaska and like fighting for survival. It sounds very gripping, but it also sounds like something that if I don't enjoy the first 20 or 30 pages of, I'm probably not gonna like the book. So I don't know why I bought it. This is something I would typically read on my Kindle or something, but again, just an impulse Walmart buy. Happens to the best of us. Next I have The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce. I'm gonna set the book down and put a picture up of it here because the dust jacket for this book is nowhere to be found. I hope it's in my car. We may never know. This is another book that takes place in a snowy, isolated setting. We all know that's my very favorite thing that could happen in a book. Let's put a bunch of people in a very secluded place, let's snow them in, and then let's make them start killing each other. Like, it could not get better in my eyes. This story was a Reese's Book Club pick earlier this year, but I just don't think it went over that well. Recently, I've had some friends who have really enjoyed this book. Like, I know Nicole just read it and she really liked it. It's about this woman who has a brother who is hosting an engagement party up in the snowy Alps at this location that used to be a sanatorium, and I guess murder is gonna happen and they're gonna get snowed in. I honestly don't even know, and I'm like 80 pages into this book. That's kind of what's going on at the moment. But we have multiple perspectives in the book that I think kind of are throwing me in and out of the story, because we have multiple storylines going on, but in every single one of them, the reader isn't supposed to know what is happening. So I know there's gonna be a satisfying moment of clarity, but just while I don't know what's going on at all, sometimes that will compel me to read to figure out the answer to the mysteries. But at this point, I don't even understand what the mysteries are supposed to be. I don't know if that made sense, but that's the Sanatorium. Now I want to talk about 2 books that one of my very best friends got me, Rashad. He actually got me a ton of books at the Friends of the Library sale that they have in my town. You don't know what that is. Basically like a used book sale, but again, I'm hoping that all those are in my car. Those books are wherever the Sanatorium dust jacket is, which again, fingers crossed they're in the car. But Rashad and I always talk about like the Goosebumps book and how like scary that those were, and like how creepy the shows were and stuff. So he got me this, it's called Scream and Scream Again, Spooky Stories from Mystery Writers of America, and R.L. Stine is presenting this book. So it's kind of like his little anthology series, and I think that he does have a story in here. I'm not sure if this is YA, I think it's like middle grade mysteries, but I am so excited to read this, probably closer to Halloween this year, because I think it's gonna be fun to read like maybe one spooky story a night all of October. I don't know if I can wait that long, honestly, but it's such a beautiful hardback, and like it looks so good on the shelf. I love the creepy font of the title. I love the weird skull house on the front. He did such a good job. That's so cute. And then this one is crazy, okay? So he doesn't like look at my Goodreads or anything like that. And he got me The Perfect Stranger by Megan Miranda. And I swear I've read almost every single Megan Miranda book except for The Perfect Stranger. Like that was such a weird coincidence. And I also think about like out of all of the thriller books he could have gotten me, like that would have been sitting out like as a mainstream thriller book, he found this, and it's like one that I've not read. Amazing. I actually think I'm gonna pick this up later this week for the Thrills and Chills readathon. All I know about it is it's about this woman whose life kind of explodes in her face, and then she gets an offer from her friend to come live with her in rural Pennsylvania, another isolated setting. I don't know, maybe. But then when she gets there, her friend disappears and there's like murders going on in the town, and so they've got to figure out what's going on. Sounds really good. Thank you so much, Rashad. He did get me another book too that I'm going to talk about in one of the other categories, but I'm so excited to read it. Then I have another Walmart buy, Something in the Water, $6 at Walmart. Apparently everyone's Walmarts aren't like this. Mine is a true gem. So I don't know anything about this book other than it's about these 2 people on their honeymoon, and they go out into the water and find something in the water and then have to make choices from there that could have serious repercussions once they get back, you know, on the land. No idea. Do they find a body? Do they find a chest of gold? My mind is racing thinking about all the possibilities, but I don't know. Apparently this was another Reese's book club pick. Maybe I'm lying. I feel like Haley said she read this book at the pool and it was perfect for like sitting by the pool reading it. So yeah, I'm so down to read this out on my porch if it's gonna give me those warm weather vibes. Lastly, for this category, I'm not gonna tell you almost anything about it. It's House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. I just did an entire almost hour-long video all about me reading this book. 90% of it is spoiler free. I have a little spoilery section at the very end, but I highly encourage you to go watch that video if you want to know anything about this book and my thoughts. All right, so let's get into all of the romance books that I've hauled so far this year. I feel like I'm gonna go on another romance rampage this summer, just like I did this time last year. First, let's talk about Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert. I did read this book in March. I'm not gonna give you any of my thoughts here, but this is the 3rd and final book in the Brown Sisters series. So we had Get a Life, Chloe Brown, Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and Act Your Age, Eve Brown. I don't wanna rank these books against each other in any way, because I feel like even though I really do think if you like one of them, you'll probably like all of them, different people will identify with different qualities each of the sisters has, and then also depending on who you are, you're probably going to like the different male leads in different ways. All I'm gonna say is I really adored Eve. I think she's so precious, and I also really loved Jacob. In this story, I think that Eve was so fun to read about, and I feel like there were some really great conversations in this book about self-acceptance, self-love, and consent. It was just very beautifully done. So I really highly recommend not just this book, but this entire series to anyone who, like, if somehow at this point you hadn't heard of it or you hadn't read it. I just feel like these are a really good choice. Next, we have Twice Shy by Sarah Hoggle. This is maybe the only book on this list that I had on pre-order because I was so excited about it. I read this author's debut novel called You Deserve Each Other in January of this year, gave it 5 stars, absolutely adored it. Got Twice Shy, started it like the night that I got it in the mail and read the first 50 pages easy. Absolutely love it. I do have a few other reading commitments that I have to push through until I can circle back to all these romance reads, but this one is probably going to be first on the list for me. I'm so obsessed with Sarah Hoggle's humor. I feel like her sense of humor isn't going to work for everybody because I feel like it could be too much, like it could be a little cheesy, but I think that it's so refreshing to read that in a book sometimes when it's done well. Anyway, Twice Shy is about this woman named Maybelle whose great aunt has recently passed away and has left her estate, but when she goes to claim it, she realizes that there's this other man who also like has rights to the house. I almost said custody. I don't think that's right, but you know what I mean. Like they're both gonna have to share this house, and from there it's like a little grumpy sunshine. I don't want to say hate to love because I feel like that phrase can be overused, but like it's a story of them definitely not getting along at the beginning and then possibly growing on each other. It is so cute. It's so short. It's so beautiful. So excited for it. Next is another one I'm so excited for, but I know you're gonna get tired of me saying that in this video, but I say that in all my haul videos because obviously I wouldn't have bought these books if I was not very excited to read them. But I don't hear many people talking about this book at all. It's called Would Like to Meet by Rachel Winters, and it's about screenwriters. We all know I want to be a screenwriter. Someone tell me to go write. But I love reading screenplays. I love reading things about writers, and get this book kind of has a premise that I don't want to say is similar to Beach Read by Emily Henry, but there are some definite parallels, and I think it's gonna be so perfect for me. So this book is all about this woman who is trying to prove to her producers that rom-coms and writing romantic comedies would be like a good idea and that they're not just super cheesy. So she has to go around the city either reenacting or just doing things that would be super commonplace in a romantic comedy movie. I don't know. I think it sounds so funny. The added spice of this book is that the girl who is trying to convince the producers to produce this romantic comedy, she's actually super cynical and doesn't even think she believes in true love, or definitely not like a meet cute moment. So I think it's gonna be so fun. Next, I have The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory, and I really hope that I love this book because it is a whole series. Like, this woman is cranking these books out and I'm here for it, and I want to be involved. I just want to feel like I'm a part of something. This book is about these two people, a man and a woman, who have this chance meeting on an elevator, and while they're on the elevator, you realize that the man is there for his ex-girlfriend's wedding. I don't know if he's in the wedding, but that's what he's there for, and his date has just bailed on him last second, so he invites her to be his wedding date, and I'm sure they're gonna fall in love from there. Again, really hoping that I enjoy it so that I can continue with the rest of the series because it sounds super cute. Next, Float Plan by Trish Dollar. I am currently reading this one. I'm over 50 pages into it. I'm reading it for a video right now, a little secret TBR action. This book is really sad, like a very sad book at the very beginning. So heavy trigger warnings for suicide or like death of a loved one or grief. Like if any of those are triggers for you or you need those content warnings before starting a book, please don't take the cover of this at face value and think it's gonna be this super fun rom-com, because we are really diving into some very dark and heavy topics here that I was not expecting and actually had me tearing up on and off for the first 50 pages. I think we've hit the point in the book now where our heroine is ready to move on, but it was real hard to get through the first 50 pages of this book, even though I was enjoying it. So it's about this woman whose husband has kind of recently died by suicide, and they were planning to go out on this sailing trip, and they had their calendars marked, And so now in the future, her husband is dead, and when the day comes around that they were supposed to embark on this journey, she decides to go by herself. But because she makes that decision and doesn't really have any experience sailing at all, definitely not by herself, she has to enlist the help of a professional boater, sailor. Oh my god. This professional sailor has to come help her, and he actually lost his leg in the past. I'm not sure how he lost his leg yet, but it kind of just talks about both of them having loss in their life and how they have coped with it and how they would like to move forward. So this is not at all, I didn't know what this book was going to be about at all when I bought it, so wasn't expecting that, but I'm enjoying it. It's very interesting. Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. We all know The Hating Game is amazing. Like a near perfect book if I've ever seen one. I have not read 99% Mine, so I'm not here to hate on 99% Mine. All I'm saying is I'm not super excited for that one. I am super excited for Second First Impressions. So this is about a woman who works at a nursing home, and then the nursing home comes under new ownership, and there's this bad boy son of the new owners of the nursing home. I don't know if it's Grumpy Sunshine. I don't know if it's enemies to lovers, but I hope that there's banter, and I really hope there's a lot of hateful tension. There's just something about hatred and annoyance that just gets me every time. I probably need to like talk to someone about it. I love the pretty lavender cover. It looks shorter than I thought it was going to be. Hopefully we will get to it soon. Next, I have mentioned this in a video before. It's the X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Anyway, I put this on one of my TBRs and then started it and wasn't super loving it, and then I had a lot of friends who did not like this book at all, which doesn't typically discourage me. I really was in a mood to be reading something that I wanted to be reading, and this one was kind of put downable at the time. I'm looking forward to circling back to it soon, but it's about these people who work at a radio station, and they have to start this radio show where they are pretending to be ex-boyfriend and girlfriend, even though these people never dated. I don't think they get along now, so it's like kind of a fun dynamic because they're enemies who have to pretend like they used to date and then broke up, but then I think eventually they start kind of falling for each other but are still having to pretend to the public that they are exes, and then if they do fall in love and like start dating, what does that mean for the show? You know, so it's just kind of like that dynamic. I know it takes place in Seattle, which I really love that as a setting. I just haven't picked it up yet for whatever reason. Maybe that will change soon. I don't know yet. This one is the Bromance Book Club by Alyssa K. Adams, that just the peer pressure got to me. The BookTube, Bookstagram, Book Twitter hype completely sold me on this after quite some time. Bromance Book Club, everyone loves it. Everyone loves this book. As far as I know, it's about this couple who is on the brink of their relationship dissolving. Why do I come up with the weirdest ways to say stuff like that? A couple's not getting along. Okay, and in order to fix everything, the husband starts reading these old romance books to try to win his wife back. The title suggests that they're going to start an entire book club like this. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's the general sense of what the book is, which doesn't sound like something that I'm gonna love, but I trust the people's opinions who really like this book. So this is probably the book I'm most excited to hear your thoughts on in the comments. If you've read it and you loved it, let me know. If you've read it and you think it's overhyped, please let me know. Next we have Forever Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is, as far as I know, the last installment of the Simple Wild series. It's definitely the latest, but it actually just came out at the end of last year. So there is hope that perhaps it will continue, but it's a little short novella, like a little baby book about Calla and Jonah. This is just a continuation of Calla and Jonah's story. I can't tell you what I think it's going to be about without completely spoiling the Simple Wild and Wild at Heart for you. So all you need to know is that it's one of my all-time favorite series, and I am so excited to get to this one. I just can't decide if I want to read it soon or if I want to wait until this winter. Much to think about there. The last romance book I have to haul is The Switch by Beth O'Leary. This would be my first Beth O'Leary book once I get around to it. And it's about these two women who switch lives for like a small period of time. One of them is about 80 years old and the other one is a much younger woman. And both of them are looking for love. And so they switch homes and try to find love. It kind of sounds like The Holiday to me, which is one of my very favorite holiday movies. From what I've heard, this one is really sweet and really wholesome, which I do like in a romance, just something that's gonna make me feel warm and fuzzy, and also has more of a touch of just straight up contemporary or literary fiction. I think that it's gonna be right up my alley. Next, I'm gonna just shortly hit on all of the book of the month books that I've hauled between January and now. I'm not gonna give you as much of a description about these books though, because if you watch BookTube like at all, then you have heard about these books over and over and over again from the larger creators who get all these books for free each month. So I'm just gonna run through all of the choices that I have and kind of tell you just like 1 or 2 sentences what they're about. So first I have my current read. I feel like I've said that a few times in this video, but this one actually is the book that I am currently sitting down and reading each day. It's called Arsenic and Adobo by Mia P. Meninsala. I am on page 50 something, 58, and I love this book. It's a cozy mystery. It's about this Filipino woman. This is a known voices story, by the way, but it's this Filipino woman who is like 25 years old. She helps run her family's Filipino restaurant, and one day her ex-boyfriend dies at the restaurant, and then it's a whole mystery of who is responsible for this. Super fun. It's gonna be a series. Loving it so far. Then I have Honey Girl by Morgan Rogers. This was a debut novel, and I feel like everyone sells it as contemporary romance. I did read this book back in March, and I think that it's much more just straight up contemporary. I don't want to call it like a coming of age story, but it's all about finding yourself and like a coming of self story. I don't know if that is a thing. This book is just all about Grace Porter and her trying to find happiness and purpose in as many different areas in her life as she can. So she wants to feel fulfilled with her career. She wants to find love. This is a really, really beautiful story. It is sapphic. I think it deserves the hype that it received, especially in the months leading up to its release. And when Book of the Month released it, everyone was super excited about it. And then I kind of saw things drop off. I've not seen it come up as much in the conversation of 2021 releases, so I don't know. I don't want to give my full thoughts here because my wrap up is coming soon. Okay, so this one is An American Marriage by Tayari Jones. This is not a recent Book of the Month release. I just added this as an add-on recently because I read Leaving Atlanta by the same author and really, really loved it and really want to read more from Tayari, so that's how this book has come into my possession. The book is about this woman whose husband is imprisoned and she is very convinced that he did not commit the crime that he is in jail for. So it's about this woman trying to be the best, most supportive wife she can be to him in this situation, and then after years pass and he's released from prison and he returns home from her, how do you rebuild that life for yourselves? Absolutely stunning cover. Sounds like it's going to be a hard-hitting story and also something that's like very specifically caters to my taste. So I've put this on a few TBRs so far this year. Haven't gotten around to it yet, but I really do hope to change that soon. Next is Girl A, and I have to be so honest, when I saw this book come out on Book of the Month and I saw one of the boxes for it was like disturbing, those are the books that I gravitate towards adding to my box because I really want to be disturbed. I want to go into this book kind of blind if I can, so all I know about it for now is that it's about these people looking back on their childhood and the horror that happened in their family when they were children. So I think we're going to get to see some flashbacks to that, and at the same time see them trying to cope with their trauma in the present day. I think that they might even have to return to a house where some really horrible things happened. Sounds like it's going to be really sad and traumatic, and exactly for me. Oh my gosh, I don't know how I didn't put this book right up front at the very beginning of the video. The People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, my most highly anticipated book of 2021, is now in my hands, and I just want to kick myself that I've not read it yet. I immediately started it the second that I got it, read 15 pages and realized, oh my gosh, this is gonna be on your top 10 of 2021's list. And you all know that I loved Beach Read last year, like one of my all-time favorite books. I'm shaking. It's about these two friends, Poppy and Alex, who had this chance meeting a while ago, and now like they're best friends. They go on vacation together every year until something happens and they kind of cross the line on one of their vacations and like cross the line of just being friends, and then like haven't talked since, kind of cut their relationship off, and now years have passed and they're gonna go on like one last vacation together. I am so excited to read it. Oh my gosh, I hope that this book destroys me and also brings me out of depression, because how can it not with this cover, with Emily Henry's writing, and then with that whole premise? It sounds so perfect. Obviously, I'm so excited for it. Next is The Push by Ashley Audrin. And I don't know what to say about this book because I feel like the inside flap is purposefully vague, and I think that you're supposed to not know what's going on in this story, but it has really good Goodreads ratings and reviews, so I'm really excited for it. All I know is that it's about this mother who thinks there's maybe something wrong with one of her children, like in a creepy way, but at the same time she is so sleep deprived, she kind of becomes one of those typical unreliable narrators where we don't know if we can believe her or not. I feel like sometimes that trope is overdone, but I'm really excited to see how it's pulled off here, especially since everyone has been loving it. I also have Outlawed by Anna North, which is another one I was really excited to read when I first got this, and then I saw some lukewarm reviews for it, so I just need to like bite the bullet and go for it at some point, because it sounds like it's gonna be really cool and really unique. I think it's gonna be like queer or sapphic cowgirls. I don't know. It's about this woman who has to run away from her town after she can't give her husband a child, and so she joins this group of cow boys and girls, cow people, bandits, you know, like a gang, if you will. And from there, like the adventures they go on, it's a Western. It sounds weird and cool, something I might like, but also something that might be one of those books like, why did I read that? Lastly, for book of the month, I have the final revival of Opal and Neb. This is another one that I think once I finish it, it might be a new all-time favorite for me. It is historical fiction, kind of told in the same vein as like how Daisy Jones and the Six was presented to readers in that like interview format. I am listening to this and on audio and reading along with it because it has a full cast narration, and it is so good so far. It's all about rock music and the rise to stardom, but all over the backdrop of the civil rights movement, and I think it's tied together in such a cool way. It is denser than Daisy Jones and the Six was. Like, it's taking me more brain power to comprehend this story, just because I feel like this is rooted a little bit more in like true historical fiction. Not that Daisy Jones and the Six wasn't, but I think that you kind of understand what I'm trying to say here. It's a little bit more historical information to take in and process, because there are going to be some stories told and some things brought up in this book where it's going to hit a nerve somewhere in your brain where you're like, I either know that story, or I learned about this in school, or like I feel like your brain might be working overtime a little bit to feel like you're getting the full story. Maybe. Mine definitely is. But at the same time, I really love it. All right, let's move on to these 4 random books that piqued your interest at the beginning of the video. Let's start with the first book, which is actually a collection of essays. It's a nonfiction book. It's called How to Slowly Kill Yourself and Others in America by Keith Slayman. And there are 12 nonfiction essays in here all about his and his family's experience of being Black in America. And I just said there were 12. I meant 13. There are 13 essays in this book. On the front here, Roxane Gay said, "I was stunned into stillness." So the queen herself has spoken. I had to get this book. Next we have Magic for Liars by Sarah Galey. This happens to me like 2 or 3 times a year, where I'll be in a bookstore or the library and I'll convince myself that I love urban fantasy. I don't know why I do that. I don't have anything against it. I really love people who do love fantasy. I occasionally will enjoy like a light fantasy sci-fi type story. But sometimes I'll just get in the bookstore and I'll be like, Magic for Liars, that was written for Caroline Johnson. I have to buy this right now. This is another one where the description is super vague. It's about these twin sisters. Apparently one of them is magic and one of them is not magic, but I don't know what to believe based on the way the back of the book is presented, because it's kind of like a two truths and a lie situation going on in the back, because at the end you think you're learning about Ivy Gamble, who is this sister who isn't magic, and then at the end it says Ivy Gamble is a liar. So I don't really know what to expect from this book. I don't know if it's going to be dark academia. I think it might have a school setting, and typically when there's magic set at a school, my mind goes dark academia. I don't know why. I think it's going to be urban fantasy. I don't know anything about this genre. I don't know why I'm still talking about it. I really like the cover though, and I don't know when I'm going to read it, because it's one of those that I got home like, why did I bring this home with me? If you've read it and you liked it, let me know. Next, I have another one that my friend Rashad got me. It's a manga, okay? It's called Demon Slayer, and it's the first book in this saga. He really likes the anime. He really likes the TV show for this, so he wanted me to read it, and then if I like it, to hopefully watch the show, and then after I read it, I'm gonna give it to him, let him read it. It's gonna be a whole thing, but I'm kind of scared. I don't really think I've read manga before. I have read parts of like Junji Ito's stuff, but I don't know, in my mind I thought those were more like graphic novels. They're probably manga, but like regardless, that is the extent of knowledge I have about this world. It's a whole new thing to me. It's outside of my comfort zone, but I'm excited for it. Thank you, Rashad. Lastly, Nick by Michael Ferris Smith, and this is a historical fiction book all about Nick Carraway, who is the narrator for The Great Gatsby. You all know I love The Great Gatsby. It's maybe my favorite classic of all time. It's definitely one of them. So I'm really excited for Nick. I don't know if I'm gonna agree with how I think his backstory is going to be told, because we really don't know much about him other than that he was in the war. So we are gonna have kind of a World War I setting in this book. That is gonna be different for me, because I feel like most of the time when I read historical fiction, we've got that World War II backdrop. So I'm interested to learn more about World War I, especially like even if it's in this fictional context, it's gonna be different. Also, how could I not with this cover? A beautiful callback if I've ever seen one. Okay, let me look around. I think that that's everything, you guys. Thank you so much for clicking on this video, for sticking around with me. I really hope you enjoyed the haul. Let me know in the comments if there are any, first of all, two things. If there's anything that really stood out to you in this haul that you think I should prioritize once I wrap up some of my literary loose ends that I've got going on right now. And then also, let me know if you've bought a book recently that you're really excited to read, especially if it's a new 2021 release. I want to know. I'm so interested. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.